So,
Yeah.
we were
Things are
talking
hard.
about Twitter keeps trying to convince me that I have autism,
Yeah.
and I'm offended. Highly offended by it.
What do you have against autistic people? Are you so
I don't, but I'm not.
I
Like,
I don't know. Apparently there's a lot of signs that you might be.
Twitter wants me to think so.
TikTok is trying to convince me that I'm also autistic. Which I'm like, I think at this point ADHD and autism are so, like, when it comes to online discourse,
Yeah.
they're so
They're
linked.
like, there's so many crossover things. And I'm like, y'all, I promise you, I feel like I would know. I do not have autism. But apparently Twitter wants me to think I do because I saw this tweet and then I sent it to my mom because she likes to make fun of me for this. So it says, many autistic people eat their meals methodically. A lot of people eat without a system, but many of us, I guess autistic people, work, for example, we'll work our way around our plates, moving clockwise or counterclockwise, eat one bite of each food in a particular order and repeat it, or eat all of their food and then move on to the next one, and so on.
I don't eat like that, but I do. I actually saw something similar to this. And it was saying, like, do you ever, and it was saying it's like an autistic trait. And I'm like, I don't think that it is. I think that some people just think like this. And and it was like, do you ever look at your plate and you're like, which of you am I going to save for last because you're the best? Or like you eat like certain things in a particular way because you don't mind if that food touches, but you're not eating this food with that food because it doesn't taste the exact same. And I'm like, I do
a lot of that is just like preference.
Yeah.
I think if it gets to a point where it's disrupting, and that's with most disorders or like whatever you want to call it. I don't know. I'm like, but I think that's with most disorders and things like that, where it's like, it's not really a problem until it starts to affect your day to day. But the reason I said that to my mom is because she likes to make fun of me because most of the time I eat my food one thing at a time on my plate. So if I've got like chicken and green beans and like mac and cheese, I will eat my green beans first and then my chicken and then my mac and cheese. Or like I work my way around my plate one thing at a time. I very rarely will like take a bite of this, take a bite of that, sip my drink. Like that's not how I do it.
I get too scared that I'll get full. Like if I eat one like food group at a time. Now, if I'm eating a burger and fry, that's a little different. But like if I have like a plate of food, I'm afraid I'll get too full on like mac and cheese, and I don't get to enjoy the main thing.
You have something on your shirt.
It's this red string.
Huh?
Gone. It's an invisible string.
Move on. Keep going. Proceed.
No,
Proceed with caution.
I had to think. I was like, what part of the song was that? So then I realized what you said. At first, I heard was he, and I was like, "What did she say?" Yeah, no, I always get afraid that if I eat all of one food group on my plate first, then I won't like eat the rest, and that makes me sad.
I guess my like method of eating food, like doing it that way, actually, I'm like, it's probably like classified as disordered eating or something like that. I don't know. I'm sure somebody would say it. But when I was in probably like high school, I started really focusing on like trying to eat healthier. And so whenever I would eat lunch, because I would go through like the lunch line and get lunch from school, I would always make sure like the thought process of I don't want to like I want to eat the good healthy like vegetables, fruits, whatever first in case I get full. Like I don't want to fill up on the quote unquote bad stuff. So like sort of I guess the same thought, but like I would eat all my vegetable sides first and then the protein, and I would save like any carbs or like starchy stuff for last. And yeah, and it literally started in high school when I started being
early on. Early on. Man, I feel like, I mean, it's probably nostalgia, but I feel like my school lunch slapped. We had like different days of the week, we had different subs. So we would have like, we had a salad line. Cares. And then we had like the regular, like, you know, Mondays this, Tuesdays this. But then we always had like a sub or a wrap line. So it would be like, you know, steak and cheese, or they had this chicken teriyaki that when it was chicken teriyaki day, girl. Oh God. I remember that being the best chicken teriyaki on the entire planet. And I don't know if it's nostalgia or if it just was, but like people fucked that shit up.
Let me tell you, I rarely went through what they would call like the hot food line. So that was when it was changing every day. Cause we had like, a line for like pizza where they had pizza every single day. There was a line for like a burger, like hot dog or something like that. So they had a couple lines where it was the same thing every day. And they had, I want to say like 3 or 4 that were the hot food lines. And so I would always go through the hot food line for Salisbury steak and mashed potatoes. So good. And then if they had the chicken fajitas, so it'd be like grilled chicken and like peppers and onions and stuff with tortillas. It was so delicious. But for the most part, I actually went through the salad bar line because especially like my senior year, the class that I had AP calculus during that period that we then would have our lunch break during. And so it was on literally the complete opposite side of the campus from the cafeteria. And so it was to the point where like it took so long to walk there that our teacher gave us like a head start. She would give us like a 5-minute head start of like, okay, the lunch bell technically doesn't ring for another 5 minutes, but y'all can get up and go and start making your way over there. And she would give us an extra 5 minutes like on the way back, like for being tardy. Cause she's like, don't be lollygagging, don't take advantage of it. But she's like, I'm giving you the extra time because I know it takes long. Yeah. And but again, saying that, like even by the time we got there, the lines would be so long because there's so many people at my school and they only had 4 lunch periods. And so by the time we would get there, sometimes all the like the hot food lines would be so long that by the time you actually got your food and got to sit down, the lunch period was over. Yeah. Because they only gave us like 20, 25 minutes to get your food and eat. Yeah. And so the shortest line most of the time was the salad bar line.
Yeah, that was definitely the shortest line.
So it was like salad, baked potato. And they would have some sort of like leftover like chicken patty or something, usually like regular spicy chicken patty from like the chicken sandwiches the day before. And so like that was a lot of time what I ended up getting was the salad line because it just was faster.
That's so depressing.
Yeah. My lunches were not great.
Yeah. Ew. No, literally at my high school, I feel like that chicken teriyaki. And then like I remember it, or at least I thought it was so good. And then I went to Subway because they have a chicken teriyaki sub. And I'm like, this is not it. And I even one time started to look online, like school chicken teriyaki meat. And I'm like, how do I make this? Because it's just not the same. It's just not. And it's not, even though I know teriyaki is like Asian, it didn't taste like getting chicken teriyaki like at a hibachi place. It didn't taste like that. And I'm like, it was so delicious. I need to just call my high school and be like, hey, do you guys still serve this?
Do you have the recipe?
I mean, what vendor did you use? Because I know y'all didn't make it. Who'd you buy it from? Can I buy some? Come pick it up. In fact, let me just come eat lunch there. I wonder if you can just go eat lunch at your old high school. Is that creepy? Especially like if you don't even have a teacher that you like there anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I think you would have to have a reason to be there.
I literally just want to eat the chicken teriyaki.
I think like a more legitimate reason to be there, and you have to get like the visitors pass a lot, and then maybe you can go eat in the cafeteria. But
that feels really discriminatory because I went to school there too. So I'm like, I feel like I should be allowed back in to eat lunch. I'll pay for it, obviously. I paid for it then too. But I feel like, what if I wanted to just have another school lunch? Like, why do I need a reason? Maybe if we get famous enough, then we can go back to our high schools.
Maybe you can like find some like,
hey, little kid.
Be like, sneak me some.
Yeah, a little kid. They'd be in high school. Yeah. Hey, kid, I'm your sister, and I'm coming to eat lunch with you.
Yeah. Let's talk about Hitler.
That'll make sense later.
I'm immaculately conceived.
I don't know what to do.
I swear I'm not stupid.
Take it or leave it. Sometimes you just want to leave it.
If I gotta borrow my mom's underwear, I'm borrowing her underwear.
You just, yeah.
Misa likes the Jar Jar Binks.
I'm not gonna edit it out.
Oh no.
I don't know. Like I think I'm just pretty great. Just
sucks on the suck.
Why are you saying it with a question mark?
Clap, bitch.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Action.
And we're live.
Oh.
I'm Anna.
And I'm Jessica.
And this is Why Are You Yelling?
Well, honestly, Anna wasn't really yelling today. She was kind of mean to me earlier.
I'm sorry.
That was a mean comment. I was like, you know what? I'm going to be the bigger person and just say she was a bitch. I said, what did I say? I said, that was kind of bitchy.
Yep, it was.
I was like,
I'm sorry.
I was like, well, then, you know what? But is it me? So basically, Anna came in and she wasn't happy, which, happens with everybody. I'm not always happy either. Some people are better at acting like they're happy when they're not.
I'm not.
Yeah, yes.
If I'm in a bad mood, you will know.
Everyone will know? And you won't get a reason why. You'll
suffer.
You'll just sit here like, so what's the problem? And then she'll say something that you can't really argue with, like, sometimes I'm just like this and I don't really want to talk about it. I shouldn't even have to. And I'll be like, you're technically correct, but what's the problem? But no, anyway. So she was not happy at first. She seems, but you're better now.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was the camera or what.
You're a fake bitch. You're a bitch, Katie.
You're a mean girl. But yeah. No, so I think we've talked about it before. I have the tendency to think that, like, if someone's upset, I did it, or like it's about me or I've done something. So I had made like the offhanded joke. I was like, I don't think I've done anything lately. And what did you said, like, between like yesterday and today? And I was like, yeah, I don't think so. Silence for at least 5 seconds. And what did you say?
I said, I think it's a little narcissistic. Or did I say I think? Or some people would say. Anyhow.
No, you definitely said I.
I think it's a little narcissistic that you think anytime someone else is in a bad mood around you that it's your fault.
No, you didn't even say me. You said, I think it's a little narcissistic if somebody thinks that, like, it's like, it was like you were.
I don't remember exactly what I said.
I do. No, anyway. So then I was like, that felt like a stab. That was a stabby stab.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm only gonna think about it for like another month.
Okay.
No, but
no, but she will.
I'm really good at letting stuff go. I'm really secure. So I came across something that has nothing to do with anything we're talking about. But did you know that Hitler was named Time Magazine's Person of the Year in 1938?
I did not know that.
So I didn't either.
Wait, when did World War II start?
It was
that year?
It was happening, dog.
Oh, it was already happening.
It was happening.
Are they German?
No. So I immediately was like,
huh?
Cancel Time Magazine. But when I looked into this, Person of the Year is always, it's basically the person or persons who most affect the news and our lives for good or ill is actually the definition. So it means it's the most, it's like someone who's extremely influential, good or bad, who's been in the news and really been they've influenced this year. So in 2014, Time Magazine argued you could do a bad guy every single year and still be justified, because Person of the Year, it doesn't mean, it's not like an award. It's not like a...
See, but it is, though. See,
it is Man of the Year,
I would
actually
argue that when you say someone is something of the year, they are the top of that category, whatever it is. They're the best in that category, right? And so you are recognizing them as having influence and like notoriety and like a prominence in that regard. And so
in the article,
I would argue that that is giving someone recognition for that. And then that would then could incentivize somebody to do more bad things. I think that's dumb.
I think that I understand the idea behind it. I think that what they call it is silly.
Yes.
I would say Time Magazine's most influential person of the year. But this is also, back then. So, I mean, I think they still do that to this day. I think Donald Trump won it a few years ago. But they did not, like, within the article, it was not praising him. It was mostly talking about, I guess the horrendous things and what was going on at the time.
That's a branding issue. Just call it something different. Because again, I don't actually disagree with the sentiment of it in terms of the idea of, like, writing an article and talking about somebody who did things, whether good or bad, because they did have an impact on, society and our history. So I don't disagree with that. But I think calling it man or woman or person of the year is dumb.
The Time Magazine's 1939 issue described Hitler as the greatest threatening force that the democratic, freedom-loving world faces today. It said Hitler's actions left civilized men and women aghast, and called Hitler the man most responsible for this world's tragedy in a moody, brooding, unproposing 49-year-old Austrian-born eccentric with a Charlie Chaplin mustache.
Okay. That was a lot of adjectives.
Yeah. He was depicted as a tiny figure with his back to the viewer, playing a massive organ with his murdered victim spinning on St. Catherine's wheel. That was what they used as the cover. So it wasn't even like a typical thing that they used.
It was a cartoon.
So I'm like, I guess if all the context is together, so maybe if you saw the cover, you saw this, and if you're familiar with Time Magazine, then you're going to just know what that actually is. Because I guess when you just say Person of the Year, I think the title would be more appropriately named Most Influential Person of the Year. I feel like, because at that point, like, but at the same time, I guess you could argue they mean the same thing, and it's kind of, I guess, all about how you perceive it. But that shit, just because how I saw it was I was watching a video, and I was on TikTok, and I think it was like one of those like a carousel basically, where it's like the pictures and you're swiping, because they do that too, like on Instagram. And it was like, there's this movie that The Rock is in with this little girl, and he's like driving, and she's in the backseat, and they're arguing, and that gets used a lot for memes. I don't know what movie that is. And anyway, he
was in a movie called was it Game Plan?
She's a little blonde girl, and she's like way older now.
I
think she was in British Terabithia.
Tooth Fairy he was in.
Not that. No, they're like, no, it's not that.
Journey to the Center of the Earth. I think he did one of those.
Maybe. I have no clue what movie it's from. But anyway, so the memes are normally her saying something and him yelling. And so she's like, Hitler was Time Magazine's 1930, or Hitler. Time Magazine's Man of the Year was Hitler 1938. And he's like, what? And I was like, hold. Pause. What did you say? And then I went and looked it up, and I was like, what the fuck? That just blew my mind. Yeah, so it was a fun fact if you did not know that.
I didn't know that.
So
I still take issue with the title of it, Person of the Year.
It is, and it was actually Man of the Year. Yeah, like that I've looked it up again. It is Man of the Year.
I still take issue with that. I think they need to call it something different, or could have called it something different.
Time Magazine.
You're on the clock.
So, what's your other thing?
Oh, I had two things.
Yeah.
One of them was something to show you that I thought was just interesting and a random fun fact. And the other one is a conversation we can have about a scenario that happened. This is I can, I guess, send you the thing to watch first.
Okay.
I'm going to message it to you and you can watch the video.
I just need to keep this open. This is just not made for this.
Yeah.
So I had another case that I wanted to get for this.
Your iPad?
Yeah, that's literally like more like a laptop, where like I can actually like it folds and opens like a laptop. Because with this, it's like a little folio case. It was $20 and has a nice Bluetooth keyboard. But I think long term, I'm like, this is
it's cumbersome because you have to do a lot of like maneuvering and unfolding.
You know, so many like words that I just don't ever think to use. Like I was thinking that.
Wait, I think I sent you the wrong thing. I think I sent you a link to my bookmarks. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
You have to log in. It was making you log in.
But like,
also the tweet.
I was thinking this the other day when I was interviewing. So, like, I just can't speak. Like, I'm actually stupid, but I'm not. Which I think your mouth
is just, because I do this too. It just moves faster. Like you're trying to get out stuff faster than
like I physically
physically are able. You have to like call.
But you also just know a lot of words, and I feel like I knew a lot of words once, and they're gone, or I just maybe I don't read enough anymore.
I think it's reading. I still read a lot, and yeah. That has an effect on your vocabulary. So this video I just sent you, it is Thirsty Crows. So it's about like, I'm always fascinated when animals can utilize tools in a way that like displays intelligence beyond just like instincts. And so this video is Thirsty Crows using stones to like raise the water level in a bottle until it rises that they can reach it. Okay. So basically,
I'm clicking on this.
Yeah. So I'll let you watch the video. And it just blew my mind when I saw this. And I'm like, oh my God. Like I knew crows and ravens were really smart. But so I'll narrate for the people who are listening. So there's this bottle that it's maybe like half full of water, and they have it like stuck in some dirt, like in the ground. So the bottle won't move. And so the crow is trying to drink the water, but obviously its beak will not fit through the top of the water bottle. So it finds little stones and pebbles from nearby, picks it up with the beak, and then uses its beak and claw to force it into the top of the water bottle. And as the rocks get deposited into the water bottle, it then causes the level of the water to rise until it's high enough that the amount they can stick their beak into the bottle, they can drink from it.
That was wild.
Yeah. And so it made me think about too, like, so there's this thing where like, I think it's squids or octopi If you put them
What?
Octopi? Plural of octopus. Octopi.
I literally hated. I hate that just disturbed me.
Like platypus, it's platypi. The plural of platypus. It's not platypuses.
I hate that you said that so casually. I've never heard someone in my life say that. Literally, I had one of those moments just now where I was like, did everybody else like
did everyone hear that?
No, you said octopi.
Octopi.
And I understood that's more than likely what it meant. But for some reason, I was like,
you were thrown off.
I just can't let it go. I could have just let you keep talking. And it just really was.
You're like, But if you put them into like, if you have them immersed in water and you stick like a jar with a screw on lid and you put them into the jar and screw the lid closed, they are smart enough to recognize, one, that they are in a jar, and two, they then use their tentacles to like suction cup to the top of the jar, like jar lid, and they can screw it open from the inside and get their way out.
That's really cool.
Literally, I'm like, and I saw this video and people explaining it, and I was like, oh my God. They're aliens. Tell me an octopus is not an alien.
I'm going to tell you they're not, but that's because I know something that is an alien.
What?
A mushroom. Mushrooms are supposed to be aliens. Like that is like a huge conspiracy theory.
Okay.
That mushrooms came from space. And so mushrooms like take over things and they like, and they can go in space, by the way, and exist. They don't like, if we're in space, we're just going to die. They don't do that. They're good, dude. Mushrooms talk to each other. There's in frequencies. Some of them sing, but their whole
heard of that.
Their whole thing is like inhabiting a place and taking it over and surviving. So that's what they do. That's kind of like part of the whole Last of Us thing, which that even though that was kind of funny to talk about for a while, but that particular thing is like within ants and should not ever be our problem. God, if zombies happen, please just let them be the Walking Dead ones. Like, just please. I don't want it to ever happen, but I really just nothing that can run at me.
Yeah,
that's over.
I need slow moving, kind of like zombies. I do not need sentient, fast moving, smart ones.
You ever watch The Walking Dead? And you're like, how the fuck did y'all even die from that? Like they're so slow.
Well, it's the infection a lot that kills you.
Well, no, but even like in the very beginning of The Walking Dead, they're like, I don't know what to do. Let me get in a corner so they can all just gangbang me and kill me, basically. I'm like, why don't you just get somewhere high? Those don't climb.
So when I was in high school, my stepbrother at the time had a book. He was obsessed with like zombies and stuff. And so he had this book.
Red flag for me.
He had this book that was like, he liked like horror movies and stuff.
Red flag.
Honestly, horror movies.
It's different. This is going to sound really fucked up, but there's a level of that's acceptable. And then the next level is you need to watch that person. Some people are creepily into that shit. And I'm like,
he got this like little book is like a gift or something. And it was like a zombie survival guide sort of thing, where it was like, these are the things you need to do in order to survive a zombie apocalypse, no matter what kind of zombie it is. Because it was taking into account like the different types of zombies from different like films and stuff. And one of the things it said was that you need to secure a high point. So it was like literally you need to find a 2-story building, minimum 2 stories. And if it has a staircase, you destroy the staircase. And you have some sort of retractable ladder situation that only you know how to access. And that way you can like pull it up and they can't get to you that way.
Yeah, I've always thought that because I'm like, they can't climb. At least, I mean, even now, did you ever see World War Z?
No.
They climb within each other.
I've seen like a clip of that where there's like this big old wall and it's like a tsunami wave of zombies.
That I'm not gonna lie, that's a really good zombie movie because it's not just based on the horror of the zombies. That's actually like, because you like The Walking Dead, so I'm like, you would probably really like that movie. It's really good.
Like zombie stuff or like post-apocalyptic survival. Like it's not like the zombies that are so much interesting to me as it is reestablishing society and how you go about recreating a functioning society and survival. And that's
what interests me. You haven't watched The Last of Us yet, have you? You need to watch that, dude. You'll tear that shit up.
Yeah.
And World War Z is really, really good. They did something that I thought like within that movie that was super interesting was they would use the stadiums and they made it super loud. So then it drew all these zombies to this stadium. They bombed the fuck out of them. And I was like, that was a really, I think that's a smart like way to do that. Like that's pretty creative.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I always was like, gotta get a high point. Like,
yeah.
What was I talking about with zombies for in the first place?
Mushrooms.
Oh yeah, that they're aliens.
Yeah.
They are. They're aliens. But squids definitely give alien energy. They look like that. But I'm like, no, there's an alien on this planet.
Well, because like the stereotypical like our imagination of what an alien looks like is they're bald and they're kind of like a sickly greenish gray blue color.
Yeah.
And they've got like round bulbous heads and then like skinny, everything else is like skinny long appendages. And I'm like, it's a lot in common with squid/octopus.
Yeah, so. I agree. They are creepy as fuck. But no, animals are so smart. Like, I think it's wild that orcas are attacking people in their boats because they're like, fuck off. And like the fact that they communicate with each other. I saw this thing about orcas that blew my mind. And it was basically like, because we were trying to, at the time, we were studying them and figuring out how they communicate with each other. And the orcas somehow had figured out supposedly that we were doing that. And they miscommunicated with each other on purpose. And that, I said, girl, what? Girl, the
like to try
to fuck us up.
Oh, like oh my God, this is like literally in World War whichever one when like we intercepted and cracked the code.
World War II.
Yeah, when we cracked their
Enigma,
spy codes and whatnot.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, literally. Yeah,
that's terrifying.
That was wild. I was like, the animals are so smart. It's really, really crazy. But especially crows and ravens, they're so smart.
Literally, they understand the concept of money. Like shiny things and barter, like trading things. So like you can, crows understand like, and some people can call it them being trained, but there's not a lot of effort on the human's part to train them. Like with a dog or a cat, if you're trying to train them, it's a lot of repetitive effort to get like a lot of effort on your part to get them to do it. With crows and ravens, it's not like that. Literally, they understand the concept of like, if I bring a shiny object like a coin or a piece of jewelry to this person in this location, they will give me something that I want in return.
Yeah.
And like they will, like they also pickpocket. So they will steal shiny things from other people and hoard it. And then like literally they understand the concept of money.
That's pretty wild. Like it's my grandma's like obsessed with crows. She's like fed them in her backyard for years. So like we would look outside and it looks like a horror movie. And there's just a bunch of crows. And we're like, oh, but I think they're sick. Because I mean, one of them is good at imitating things. Is that the raven? Or is that
I think so. I think it's ravens.
Because they're very similar. Because they look very similar, but they're different. And one's bigger. I think crows are bigger than ravens. Is that right?
I don't know.
One's slightly bigger, I think. But anyway.
Speaking of the apocalypse and the end of the world, we had our own semi-apocalyptic event here.
Oh my God.
That we have not even talked about. We didn't even talk about talking about it.
No, but the thing is I had even said, oh yeah, we definitely have to talk about that in my head to myself, my other personalities. Oh. Yeah.
So we had a hurricane come through our little town, our little city.
Yeah.
And a lot of people in different parts of the country, specifically like Florida, have experienced hurricanes and stuff before. Where we are located, this was the first ever instance of actual hurricane force winds being recorded in our county. Because where we are located, we are just centrally located enough away from coasts on all sides that by the time typically a hurricane gets to us, it has dissipated into like a tropical storm or tropical depression. So it's still like not ideal, but it's not ever been hurricane force winds and actual like still categorized as a hurricane by the time it hits us. It did this last week. Was it last week? Week before. So about 2 weeks ago. Week and a half ago.
Yeah.
And so yeah, this is our city and county are not prepared for something of this magnitude.
No.
We have lots of tall, skinny pine trees, especially in the more central part of the city.
Yeah.
Everywhere. Like it is really bad. And so tall, skinny pine trees like to snap.
Yep. They just
in half like light poles, which we had a lot of those happen too.
Yeah. Yep. Happened in my front yard.
Yeah. So our county was 95% of the residents in our county were without power for, I'd probably say like a day.
Yeah.
At least the, 24 hours immediately after the storm passed through. But really, I will say that our electric companies, all the linemen, like all of our county and city government agencies have done a remarkable job, in my opinion, of handling the aftermath of the storm.
100%. Yeah, it was yeah, I've never experienced anything like that. Like, I've never seen trees snap. I have a tree falling on camera that I did not expect. I guess I could throw it up. So I'm like, that was crazy. And so at my house, there's 3 ways that you could technically leave. So like I'm on the side of the road. To the left, there's a road. To the right, like there's just different ways you can leave.
Yeah,
like the left,
you can exit your neighborhood
in like 3 different ways.
3 different ways.
All of them had trees, and you can see it from my front porch. And I mean, just seeing the big ass trees fall, like they were all in people's houses. Like we were extremely fortunate that one didn't fall on our house, but they fell on our power pole, like on our power lines, and like we had a power pole snap in half. Like,
literally, there were so many power poles that got snapped in half. Power lines down everywhere. Like you couldn't get out of your driveway.
No,
because it was completely blocked with hanging power lines and stuff, and trees down everywhere. Like it looked like it was a disaster. Like especially I feel like in the neighborhoods, like all the side streets were particularly bad trying to navigate around even days after the storm had passed, because it just took so long for, obviously they clear the main roadways first, and then they clear off any access to essential services, and they restore power to those first. But then just like it takes them a while to get to these smaller neighborhoods and side streets, and it's just like,
I will say like our mayor, like because I started to follow him, and then like we have like an emergency management Facebook page for our county, and I was following all these different pages. I mean, he had a shit ton of like people out of state come, like from Alabama and Mississippi, some people from northern Georgia, like linemen. And so, a lot got done within the first like 3 or 4 days. Like I was expecting to not have power for like a week because of just how the fact of like what damage was done to our power lines. I had it back Friday.
Yeah. The storm came through Wednesday.
Yeah. I had it back Friday, like evening, which me and Travis were like, we have power. It was like, we did not expect that. And so that was, and the thing is like, we were super lucky because there were so many people that didn't get power back until like Wednesday, like almost a week later.
Yeah.
I mean, but people, it was wild, but it was nice to see too, like the camaraderie that like a lot of people have. And I guess it's just like living in a smaller town, people were really helpful.
People are
tried
very
to help each other.
Neighborly.
Yeah.
Especially in times of crisis around here. I think that there's a lot that can be said about like how divisive things seem to get politically and everything. But in moments of crisis, you really see a lot of that get put to the side, and people come together to help each other and support their neighbors.
Yeah.
And it gives you a little bit of faith in humanity, in terms of like, we can come together to help each other out. Yeah. I mean, I think some people have never had to think about how complicated like an electrical grid is, because they've never really experienced an issue with something like a hurricane coming through and destroying power lines and poles. Like literally the amount of destruction we had, in order to fix it, first they have to clear the roadways before any of the service vehicles or the linemen can reach the areas they need to repair. So first you have to have people and crews out with chainsaws and trucks clearing out roadways so you can get access to it. And then when the people can finally get to what needs to be serviced, you have to like survey the damage of like, okay, you have to first, if there's light poles down, you have to replace the light pole. That's literally taking down the pole, putting the new one in, and then finally you can get in there with the actual like lift trucks and like restring the poles and do the work you need to do to get that going. And
not to mention the tree removal. And I think people don't realize it's like, linemen, they don't handle everything. You have to have tree removal services. You have to have the power company there. Then you have to have the people doing the manual labor of removing the tree. And so there's so many things that are involved in that. But then like the tree removal people need the power people there to make sure like, let's untangle these power lines.
It's safe to handle it.
So it's like, there's so many layers to it. But like right now, people have chopped up trees. They put them in the front of their yard basically because we're supposed to be having some kind of tree removal, like the
cleanup service. So basically there's people that can come in and, chop up the trees that have fallen. So if a tree falls in your yard, somebody comes in with a chainsaw, they cut it up into 4-foot sections, and they put that in any of the yard debris, basically in a pile on the side of the road. And that's all that they can do because someone else has to come in, and the city and county pay for this. And it's basically the cleanup crews, it's the debris removal services, and they only have so many trucks that they can run at one time. And they go by with their big old claw things in their trucks, and they pick up the big piles of trees and debris and take them away. So like that's the stage that we're at now, and that's going to take weeks for them to get through everything. Like there's like still piles and piles of chopped up trees. Like some people's yards, it's amazing how many trees actually fell in their yards and how big those piles of like wood and trees are.
I feel like my neighborhood has like quite a few like holy shit, that's just like their whole yard is just a tree.
And you also, within our city limits, you can't burn.
Nope.
You can't, because it's a fire hazard. So you can't do any sort of burn pile. You can't just burn the wood from what's been chopped up. You can do it out in the county if you get permit from like local fire department and stuff like that. But can't in the city limits. So it's going to be a little bit of time. They're going to have to make multiple passes through the city, all the streets, and to get everything. So
yeah. And people are just now kind of so Brian Kemp, our governor, he had finally, I think it was on Friday, he requested, so I think the hurricane happened Wednesday. I think it was that Friday. He had requested basically from the federal government, like FEMA help, basically. So like he declared a national disaster, needed all this kind of thing.
Yeah. So he applied for it to be declared a national disaster. Yeah. Only the president can approve it.
And so
he basically, and it was the Friday before Labor Day. So it was a holiday weekend. So like it was a little bit before it actually got approved.
Yeah.
And at first it was only 3 counties in our area that got approved, but they've added more. I think they've added like a dozen more or so to the list, and they're anticipating adding more to the list as well.
Yeah. So it's like to see, like seeing where these people like set up shop. Like you have a lot of people set up in the Home Depot parking lot, all these different organizations. And so it's just like it's really like, we never experienced anything like this. And I've never experienced anything like this before. So it's definitely like just a different, it's crazy. It's just really like, it gives you a different perspective for sure of like, you know, people in Florida or like even like Louisiana, the Gulf, really how like what they, I mean, I guess really anywhere that gets hurricanes, you're like, holy shit.
Yeah. So we have, we're fortunate that we have, again, so many, like our local government has been really great, I think, at identifying different like charities and local like what are they called, like nonprofits, and there's even some nonprofits coming in from like out of town and stuff, helping to just with the different things people need. So like one thing that people don't think about is like, so say if a tree does fall on your house, you can't live in that house anymore. Like if it's uninhabitable because there's a tree through your living room, you have to find somewhere else to stay. But then also like you may not have all the things that you need just even to be clean. So like if you don't have power, if you have a tree in your house, you can't clean your laundry. So there was a couple of spots around town where like, I think in like one of the Walmart parking lots and somewhere else where they were like, if you need to do laundry, bring it and drop it off free of service. We will wash, dry, and fold your laundry within like an hour and you can come pick it up. And that's something that you like take for granted when you don't like that you would have clean clothes that you have access to, or be able to wash your clothes, or like take a shower. They had like mobile shower units set up, or like we had some local businesses that were like, there was a Badcock furniture store in town, which they've done this before, where after the storm passes and they're able to, if they have power, or even sometimes they'll run their generators, they'll have their AC on because it is September in South Georgia. At the time when the hurricane came through, it was late August. So it's, you know, it's hot, it's humid, and you have no AC. Like it's rough. And so they're like literally open their store up with their showroom that has all their furniture, recliners, couches, beds, whatever. And they're like, if you need your family, whoever, kids need a place just to hang out in the AC for a couple of hours, they're like, please come by. We have a shower. You can take turns. Like, and I thought that that's just a really nice gesture because they don't have to do that. They're a local business that's just offering to be like a good member of their community.
No, I mean, that was one thing, like even with us. So like for me, I wasn't so worried about me, but me and Travis were worried about Obi. Like we have a chow chow. So it's like, that's the kind of breed he is. And so, you know, he was getting like really, really, really hot because the first night was okay. The second day, it was like, holy shit, it's so fucking hot in this house. Like, there's just no way. I mean, and then you just feel like shit. Because I saw a lot of people talking about their kids and their animals. They're like, what can I do? Like, they can't just sit in this heat. Like, so we had spent one night at Travis's, like, where he works or whatever, because they had air conditioner. We just slept in that office because it was like, nobody's here.
Mm-hmm.
And we took Obi because I was like, oh my God, like he's just like sitting there panting and you feel like shit. And you're like, oh my gosh. And then you gave me like a USB powered fan that he didn't like because the noise freaked him out.
Oh God. It's not even a loud fan.
No,
it's a little bitty dust
Obi's
fan.
like that. Obi's like, what's that? I've never seen it before. Suspicious. That thing is suspicious. So yeah, that was a completely
Would you say he was not a fan?
He was not a fan of the
fan.
fan. He was not. Yeah, that was just, it is still kind of crazy to see like what people are, because I see more stuff about where we live now that I did before, just because I did join all these groups I wasn't a part of before.
Yeah, it's amazing how I was like, we have an arbor division of our local government. There's an arbor division. I'm like, what? Okay, because they were helping with tree removal at like the local parks and stuff like that. I'm like, all right, okay, get on with your bad self. Like, but I didn't know we had an arbor division.
What was really weird, so where I work is, I didn't think about it. So before the storm hit, I was on the way to work and I passed by the emergency management like station, like the little hub.
Their office.
Their office every day. And so I don't know if I can't remember if I was on the way to work or if I was leaving, but either way, it was that Monday or Tuesday before the storm hits. And I'm going, somebody was murdered.
Like there are so many cars.
There are so many police, so many this, so many that. And I was like, something done went down. My dumbass not realizing how bad this hurricane was going to be.
And it was all the people preparing, all the emergency personnel preparing.
And that's what it all was. And so I have to say though, what's so funny is like, so you this isn't funny, but it's just something that you just are so thankful for like your friends and like your family and who's there for you, because like you and your mom were so nice. Like I literally was just like, didn't even occur to me any of that. You're like, my mom wants to know if you need anything, and here's this, and she's gonna cook you dinner. And it was something that just was like, holy shit, like you really know who like your friends are and like who's willing. And not even like who your friends are, because some people are just in the same boat, but like wasn't hit as bad, which is like a little bit north of Valdosta where your mom is. So it's like, I said the place, and I immediately was like, I already said
shouldn't
it.
Shouldn't have said it.
I was like, shouldn't have said that.
Bleep it out.
Shouldn't have said that. Yeah. So she lives a little bit north of us. And so, she's like, I'll cook you dinner, this, and that. And then it was something that I was talking to you a lot because I was like, you guys experienced Katrina. So it was like, what you experienced was way worse than this. But it's like how prepared you were, knowing what like
beforehand,
before then, but also anticipating my own needs and things I didn't think about. I didn't think about eating a hot dinner, but your mom did.
Yeah.
And that was like, shit, she's right. And then that shit was delicious. And me and Travis fucked it up. But it was just one of those things that's like, wow, like definitely thankful for the people you have in your life. So it was really nice.
Yeah, I think that going through something like this, and especially if you've been on the worst end of it where, you're without power for days, and the things that you don't have access to, it makes you more like sympathetic. And I get empathetic. I don't know what the difference is, but it makes you more sympathetic to and able to prepare for those scenarios in the future, so that when you are in a position like my mom and I were, where we still, I went and stayed at her house when the storm was passing through. And so like we were in a position where her house fortunately didn't have any damage, no trees down in her yard, and we had power on the whole time. And so immediately, but we were in a position where like, you were without power. Couldn't really get out of your neighborhood. My aunt, who lives south of where we live, she got it really bad because she lives further out in the county. And she, like, it was really scary for her because she was home by herself with 4 dogs and trying to keep them cool and calm. And then all, like, the storm going through. So she had some bad damage going through. And then, like, my grandparents they evacuated to... Because they're like, we're not riding this out. We're just gonna. I think they went to like Columbus or something. But basically, it was like my mom's was like the command center of our little family and friends unit, where it's like my mom is now like was in contact with different people, being like, okay, who needs what? Because we're in a position too where like we had easier access to like grocery stores in and around town. Here, obviously, a lot of them didn't have power or didn't have food because their food spoiled and they couldn't sell it. Like a lot of places locally were only selling dry goods for a while, so they got more stuff in. And so, my mom was in a position where she's like, okay, well, I can travel to this city that's out of town and pick up groceries for people and bring them back and redistribute and stuff like that. So it was like, I think being in a position where you've experienced something like this before, it's easier for you to anticipate what can help people feel better in the moment and what you're actually able to do to help them feel better. So it's like a case of like, like how much a hot meal or like a shower or being able to wear clean clothes, like how much that stuff actually helps you feel more human when you're going through those hard like moments.
Yeah. No, that was like, and it was funny because, in my head, because I haven't experienced anything like this before, I knew it would be a while, but for some reason I just kept having like this naive idea where I'm like, nah, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. And so I almost was like, nah, tell her don't worry about it. But then it was like the one logical voice in my head because I was on the phone with you and I was like, well, she's offering. I mean, cool. And I mean, really, like I wouldn't have known what I was going to eat that night if she wouldn't have. So it was like, I think so often too, we're so used to being like, no, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Like, no, don't worry about it.
I got it. I'm self-sufficient. Yeah. Don't go out of your way. Don't inconvenience yourself to help me. Like, but like in those moments, some part of you's like, no, I do need help.
Yeah. Well, at that point I was like, she got me water. I have a bunch of her candles.
So you could see.
Yeah. And it was just like, I don't know. Because it was funny too, because even with Travis, I was like, yeah, so Anna and her mom, she brought me this, and that. And then she made us food. And he was just like, holy shit. I mean, because he has family down here, but everybody else is also dealing with it
their
too.
own stuff, yeah.
So I don't know. It was just really sweet.
Yeah.
That was so nice. That was really, really sweet.
Yeah.
And then you called me a narcissist.
You damn narcissist.
You damn narcissist.
No, yeah, my mother is very on top of hurricanes and bad weather coming through around here.
I would imagine,
And so I don't really track that stuff until she tells me to, because I know that she's on top of it and monitoring it, and she will literally, she's my early warning alert system.
Well, you told me that weekend before, and I'm just like, okay.
It'll be literally, my mom texted me like that. I think it was like that Saturday or something, or Saturday or Sunday, and she was like, it's looking like it's tracking, like it's going to come through here. Make sure you're prepared. And she doesn't have to tell me everything I need to get for it. I just hit my mic. She doesn't have to tell me everything I need to do to prepare, because I know what to get, and like I stay ready.
Yeah.
But I am now the one that like tells people like at work or like my friends, like, this is what you need to do. Like, make sure you have XYZ, because there's a lot of things that people don't think about getting to prepare for a situation like that.
Yeah. I one thing me and Travis talked about is I definitely want to be, and this was something that even during COVID was something that I was like, I want to be prepared better. Like, I don't want to be like, oh God, I need these things and everyone's out to get them. I want to, like, we have a little closet in our house that me and him agreed. We're like, I want that to be the space that we keep overflow of water, overflow of toilet paper, overflow of paper towels, I want canned goods, and I want to get like that thing you have in your car. I want one of those.
Yeah.
And I
have it is a portable thing that you can use to basically, you charge it and you can use it to jump off your car if your battery dies. So you don't have to wait for someone else to come jump your car off. So, but it also has USB ports on it. So you can use it, and you can power only just the USB ports. And so you can plug stuff in to charge it, or use it to operate like fans and stuff like that and charge cell phones. And it also has like an air compressor to fill up tire in your car. But I literally asked my mom for that for Christmas one year. And I'm like, because I stress out about like my car battery dying and stuff.
Yeah, because your car is like ancient.
Yes. But car issue stressed me out. But like, that's one thing that like, I'm glad I have it now, because it is like a really big, basically like battery.
No, yeah. That's what, because like we were looking at those, and I'm like, even a generator, getting, because there's different types of generators. You have the generator that you can just kind of wire in, and it'll just say it'll run off gas or whatever, and you can have an extension cord, and then you can plug in your fridge, or I think you can wire in some of it, so you're plugging it into like has something to do with the breaker, so that way you can run your lights. But then you have the Mac Daddy generators that kick on the second your power goes out,
emergency backups,
and it powers your whole house. And I'm like, that's dope.
Yeah.
Like, and there's just things like that where I'm like, it's one of those things that sometimes you're like, oh well, it happened once, and
it won't happen again, but yeah,
it might because like the weather's worse now. Whether you want to say it's climate change, or whether you wanted to say it's just the natural way that that the temperature happens throughout
the course
time.
of history. Yeah.
So it's like, however you want it to be. Currently, right now, we're in a place where Well, this
is going to happen more frequently.
And the fact that it happened, it might happen again. And, even having like more battery powered things. I mean, the only thing that I did, this is so stupid. It's so like first world and so zennial, is I made sure that I had all these power banks charged for my phone.
Well, the thing is, that's actually not even like a superficial thing to worry about, because
that's how I communicate with people.
Bet, one, we don't have landlines. And two, I bet that you don't have like a like an emergency radio system, right?
No.
So they sell these types of radios that are specifically for emergency broadcast channels. And so it'll pick up like if, the ones that like literally the National Weather Service uses to send out weather bulletins.
We have one of those at my work where literally it'll be quiet at work and then it goes, and you're like, oh God. And then it'll go, the National Weather Service has done whatever.
So I'm sure you've probably heard them on like local radio stations before if you're listening to those.
Yeah.
This type of radio picks up only those emergency broadcasts. And it's also the same type of frequencies. Like if anything, God forbid, were to happen to our government infrastructure, whatever, like that's how they would communicate with everyone, would be through those types of radios. So like if you don't have one of those and your phone dies, or if the cell towers go down, Wi-Fi goes down, you have no other way of receiving information. So you have to keep your phone charged. Like there's not even a way you can make an emergency call if you don't have your phone charged.
No. So I had like 4 or 5 fucking little things where I was good. But yeah. And so afterwards you have a lot of people that come out of town. This is like the other part of it that's kind of annoying, is you have people like come out of town, they're from out of town is what I'm trying to say. And they're like, oh, I'm a tree service, or I'm a stump service, or I'm this and I'm that. And they're trying to charge people out the ass money. And then you have all these people here that have never experienced this before that are paying these people or doing this or doing that.
So people that are scamming people. So basically, there are people that will come in and say that they operate a tree removal service. And they quote astronomical prices, like thousands of dollars to remove a couple of trees or even a single tree from your house or your yard. And then they'll, without presenting you with any sort of contract, they'll make you pay money up front to do it. And then you'll never hear from them again. Even if they only make you pay half or, 25%, that's still $1,000 you're not getting back.
No, it's like and that's happening so much on these groups that I'm in, where people are like, they said it was going to be this much, and then, they ended up not even doing it, and we did. It's so...
people getting scammed.
So many people getting scammed and just taken advantage of it. It's just like, God damn, like, what a bunch of assholes. Like, you're not even from here. You're literally just preying on people. Like, that's their business. That's what they do. And you're like, you're disgusting.
Yep.
Yeah. So, dang, that's been a minute now. What was your other thing?
Oh, it was I had seen this thing on Instagram a while ago, and I saved it and forgot to talk about it. So it was, it looks like it actually came from,
Why'd you move that up?
Huh?
Why'd you move your mic up?
I don't know.
All up in your damn lips. So last episode, when you go look at it, Anna's mic is literally just in front of her mouth the whole time, which is funny because normally that's my problem. And my mic was pretty like well positioned, and hers is just like
directly in front of the lower half of my face. You can't, it's rough. So this, I saw this thing and it looks like it was originally posted to Tumblr.
Oh God.
Yeah. So somebody said, my sister just got hit on by the chef at the restaurant we're at via the waitress. I'm dying. And so then they commented underneath it and said, the waitress got my sister's number for the chef and then proceeded to gush about him to my sister. And then a second waitress did the same. And then the first one told us my sister wasn't allowed to order dessert because it was taken care of. And then he made her a tasting plate of every dessert on the menu. And then he came out and he was so nervous and it was really super sweet. And someone commented underneath it, more men should present dessert plates when trying to hit on a woman. But then I went and read the comments. And so as you can imagine,
here we go.
A lot of the comments were like, that's so inappropriate. If you're at like working, you shouldn't be hitting on your customers or trying to get their number. Like, I find that creepy.
Up.
And it was all this stuff in the comments. And I'm like, are y'all like,
okay?
Have y'all ever existed outside of like
the
internet
no.
ever? Do you go outside of your house at any point? Like,
no.
Do you know what it means to socialize?
No.
And to be social and interact with actual humans?
I think the people that keep talking about workplace environments have never been in a workplace environment. No. The fact that people, you want to be fucking for real? I love my work environment. We're not professional 100,000% of the time.
No.
Who has time for that?
No.
Because I want to have fun. Like, I want to
Mhm.
have fun when I'm working. I want to have fun with my coworkers. I'm not saying anybody's inappropriate, but it's like the idea that like you can't have a personality within the workplace is stupid. The fact, and I think too, one thing that's starting to get on my nerves is I think it's this whole overcorrection thing
Mhm.
where people, you know, the bosses, right? There's so much responsibility put onto the boss, the power dynamic, this, that, the third. It's a conversation we've been having for years now. They're still people, bro.
Mhm.
They're still people. They're gonna fuck up. They're not like, I think people who've never had real jobs. Also, you know how sometimes when you're like younger, you think of your parents as these all-knowing beings and they're not like just human beings trying to figure it out. And it's not until you're like in your late 20s, you're like, how'd they do it? Like that's like, you realize, like you get this realization, they're just people trying to figure it out. And I think the same thing happens when you're like in a workplace and you realize like these people, they're just people. They're just trying to figure it out. They're gonna fuck up. And I don't think people should be crucified if they fuck up in within a reasonable degree. So
even
it's like,
if you call it a fuck up, like, so like I have been a server for many, or I was a server for many years. And have I like flirted with some of my like people like that were sitting at my table? Sure. Have they flirted with me? And sometimes it's joking and whatever. Like, it's like, yes, but I've never been in a situation, I don't recall, that that I ever had a guest at a table that ever made me feel actually uncomfortable to where I'm like, I don't want to go back out to that table. They make me really uncomfortable. Like, I can't do that. Like, I've never had that happen. Because we're most of the time in a situation where we're both aware of what's happening here. You know?
Yeah.
We can read the social setting and context and know that we're literally just having a good time.
Yeah.
Like, we're literally just, and if you want to call it flirting, it's literally just being,
it's harmless.
It's being smiley and giggly and
joking
around and just being really nice. Like,
or sometimes you're being sarcastic, you know,
however you can be a little, you can be a little like mean to them, but in a sarcastic, funny way. Like, so it's a case of like, but we know what that is, right?
Yeah.
There's one time I had, and it's always like the old guys.
I was going to say, so like when I was a server, same thing. The only time I ever experienced creepiness was when I was a cart girl at a golf club thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was the only time. A golf course. That was the only time I ever experienced. And I was like, no.
Yeah, I had one time, but it wasn't even like, it wasn't something I couldn't handle. So it was a situation where I had like this huge party table. And like the older guy who was clearly like the grandfather of the group or whatever, he and I were joking back and forth throughout like their whole meal. Like,
sometimes honestly flirting with old men is fun.
It's hysterical because I can be mean to them and then they'll still laugh.
Exactly. Like but they're more secure than like young people. So it feels like I think like in our heads, like it's more harmless because obviously that's not going to happen. We're just having fun.
Yeah. And some of like the old guys will be like surprised when you give it back to them.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh ho ho. They're like, this is about to be fun.
Let's go. Yeah.
And so I had been joking with this guy back and forth through their whole meal, having a good time, whatever. And I'd made a joke about like, because at the time I was like really bleaching my hair. And I made something about, must be all the bleach getting to my brain cells. Like, I'm an airhead. Like making jokes, right? Self-deprecating and whatnot.
Yeah.
And so they get up to leave and the guy just came over to me and like went to like, he was like, oh, thank you so much, sweetie, blah, blah, blah. I went to give him my tip. And then he like started to lean toward me like he was going to kiss me. Like, I don't know if it was a cheek or whatever. And so like I immediately swerved and went in for like the hug situation. But I was like, that was odd.
Yeah.
That I don't know what that was, but I navigated it. That was the only time where I was like, that was kind of weird.
Yeah.
But again, it wasn't something I couldn't handle. Right. And so there are a handful of instances I recall of like other servers that I worked with where they had a guest that was a little creepy to them. But it was always a scenario of like, well, if you feel uncomfortable, I'll go take the table for you. Or like you can keep a tip, whatever tip they leave. I'll bring out their check.
Yeah,
I'll just say that you're busy handling another guest or whatever. Like I'll step in. I got you. Like, and for the most part, that's how it was handled. So I don't really recall there ever being a scenario where it was like super over the top, creepy, weird. Not to say that doesn't happen. I'm sure that does. But most of the time when it did happen, we handled it and nipped it in the bud because we didn't want it to go any further and get to the point where it's like dangerous. Right.
Yeah.
But so like this scenario of like what they were talking about where like there was a chef at a restaurant, and then there was some waitresses that were talking the chef up to the cute girl at the table, and then he got the number from the sister through the waitress and like gave them free dessert or whatever.
So hold on,
like,
what was the scenario? Did she get the girl's number?
No, so it was a girl and her sister were at a restaurant eating.
Yes.
And so then the chef thought that she was cute.
Yeah.
And then 2 waitresses went over to their table and were like gushing about the server and or about the chef.
The chef, yeah.
And so then the sister gave her number, the girl, the cute girl or whatever, so the sister gave the number to the waitress who gave it to the chef.
So here's the thing that's already with this scenario. Why? Like so the only way that I could get the comments is if the girl was like, oh no,
like not interested.
I'm not interested. Like, I appreciate it, but I'm not looking for anything right now. Like, thank you so much. Or
but
I have a boyfriend.
Clearly
whatever.
the sister who she's eating with thought that she was receptive enough
to
feel comfortable giving the number.
So I'm like, at that point, he didn't even come out with the dessert till after all of that happened. So I'm like, this is not what y'all are complaining about is null and void. It does not matter.
That's not what the situation was.
No, she clearly was okay with it. Now, I would have wanted him to come out sooner. I didn't know what he looked like. I've been like, where is he? Show me a picture.
Yeah.
Like,
so this particular scenario, I'm like, that to me, there's nothing wrong with how that played out.
No.
Right?
No.
And also, I find that it's more often that I would have an issue with the reverse scenario if it was a guest or like a customer if they were like aggressively hitting on the person who's clocked in, the employee who's working, I would find that to be more of a problem than the other way around, right? Because if someone who's an employee is hitting on a customer, if the customer doesn't like it, they can just leave. Right? Or they can walk away. They don't have to stay there. There's no pressure for them to smile and be nice, right?
Yeah.
Or there's less pressure. But if it's the other way around, or if it's a guest or a customer that's hating on the employee is literally paid there to be nice to the guests and to smile and to give them good service. And if you don't do that and play along with everything, then there's the risk that they could leave a bad review, talk bad about you or your business to other people. Like, so I would find that to be more inappropriate if we're going to call anything inappropriate.
Yeah.
But again, I find that most of the time, these situations, it's very clear if there's any flirting or whatever, it's not inappropriate. It's harmless fun. It's people being people and having personalities, not being robots.
Yeah, I'm so over this whole people they use buzzwords and they've never had like a friend outside the internet and they've never spoken to somebody in their life, and then they all procreate with each other because they all end up meeting and they're all just weird. And just stay over there then. Like, clearly these people were fine. No one was complaining.
Yeah.
Like,
they were clearly excited about it and happy that it
like,
happened.
honestly,
and they literally said it was so cute.
Like, honestly, I feel like the people that are upset about it, they're upset that they're so like just ugly on the inside and the outside that no one's going to do that to them. And so they're just like
bitter,
jealous fucking assholes that are like, well, why can't I just go? Honey, believe me, I'm sure you can go somewhere and no one's bothering your bitch ass. So you don't need to worry about it.
I think too often people, especially online, sanitize things and boil them down to it's this or this. It's black and white.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've always said this about myself. I very easily see all the gray in between. I am very capable of seeing a situation from multiple perspectives and understanding how they could see it from that way.
Yeah.
And so like, I think most people do operate from that to a degree.
Yeah.
Not everything is this example scenario that you've concocted in your head where it's a predator out to get somebody, or it's somebody preying on somebody or being inappropriate or trying to like exploit them in some way. Like, most of the time, it's actually not that happening. And you, for whatever reason, are ignoring the actual story and what somebody is saying actually happened and how they felt about it. You're saying, no, that was wrong and inappropriate.
Literally the people that are like, gosh, like, I would hate that. Like, if I go out to eat, like, I want to be just left alone. Well, obviously you have been. And honestly, it's probably going to continue because you're a wet blanket and we can sense it.
Yes.
So fuck off. Don't worry. It won't happen to you because you suck. So don't worry about it.
Don't worry. Nobody's coming for you.
No one's coming for you, baby girl, baby boy. It's not happening because you're ugly on the inside and out, probably.
I'm assuming.
Yeah. And people can smell the insecurity on you and the BO, and we're not interested.
Insecurity smells like BO.
Yeah. So
I'm sorry you look like a hobgoblin.
Yeah. Like, I'm sorry that I'm sorry that on YouTube, like, you don't even have a profile picture. You just got like that plain old egghead because you know better, or you have like an anime character. Which I have an anime character on my Spotify account, okay? So I'm not actually hating on that, but I'm like, you know the type I'm talking about. So just like stay online. I don't know what to tell you. Get in the meta universe. I don't know what to tell you. Like, go get like a VR headset.
Go get hit on at a restaurant in the VR. Metaverse. Yeah.
Where you'll still complain and act like you can't take the headset off. Like, I don't even know what to tell you. What the fuck ever. I hate people like that so much. I'm like, don't believe me, honey. Ain't no one hitting on you anyway. Like, we can smell it. We can sense it. We're good.
I don't know that I've ever been in a scenario where like I'm afraid that somebody's gonna come up and talk to me or hit on me. I don't know that I've ever, in terms of like just in general of like I'm gonna go to this place and do this activity and I'm like, please don't come up to me, don't talk to me. Oh my God. Like I don't know that I've ever experienced
I don't
that.
ever think that way because I'm not ever like conceited and self-centered enough to think that like I'm the center of the universe and everyone's going to be staring at me when I walk into a place and to be worried about that. Like, sure, I've like the GameStop story that I've told on here before, where basically I was buying a game at GameStop and this guy overheard me giving my phone number to the guy for my rewards when I was like checking out the cashier at GameStop. And that whole situation happened. But I didn't go into GameStop thinking that was going to happen.
Yeah.
Or even like when I was a cart girl, like there was a lot of scenarios. That was where I was like definitely felt I didn't keep that job very long, so I felt very uncomfortable.
Yeah,
often. But there were some people that were awesome. But I think that's like the flip side is you have some people that know it's harmless, and then you have other people that take it a step farther and make you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, and those people, they're the ones that like.
And I'm the employee, so I have to keep doing whatever, and then your money's involved.
Yeah.
So what are you saying? So that was a whole thing. But I mean, like for the most part, like. It's harmless. Yeah. And I think people are just extra and they're stupid. Don't worry, it ain't gonna happen to you, honey. It's not happening to you. So, but, well, I guess that's it. We didn't get to the other things, but that's okay. Huh. Those are heavier anyway. Yeah. I'm sure people will still be talking about it in a week and we can talk about it next time.
Yep.
So, yeah. So that's it. You'll see ya. We'll talk to you next time.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, that's pretty much the vibe. Anyway, peace out, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Turn on notifications to make sure you don't miss any future uploads. Talk at you next time. Bye.